Um, so perfect. We are recording now. So hello everyone. My name is Kiya Reiss. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions at Framingham State University. Thank you so much for joining us tonight to find out a little bit more. Before we get started, I just wanted to share with you a few key things that we in admissions would like you to know. Um, this session is being recorded and it's going to be housed on the Framingham State YouTube channel. If you're not comfortable with being recorded, please feel free to keep your camera and audio off and send any questions that you might have in the chat. Our accepted student website is framingham.edu/accepted. I will be putting that information in the chat. This is all of the information that you need to take the next steps. So please feel free to visit that website. I'm pasting it in the chat right now. Additionally, we have a incoming student Instagram page. So I will put the username for that in the chat as well. Be sure to follow us there because that'll have a lot of really great and relevant information. And please remember to RSVP for our accepted student receptions that are happening on Saturday, March 29th and Saturday, April 5th. That's a great opportunity to get to know the Framingham State community a little bit better, meet faculty, meet additional staff, and other students on campus. Our deposit deadline is May 1st, so students who are considering coming to Framingham State, we want them to let us know by that May 1st deadline. Um, and those are all of the announcements that I have from the admissions side. So please use the chat feature tonight for any questions that you may have throughout the presentation. If there are questions that I can answer, I'll go ahead and respond in the chat. Otherwise, we will have Ben respond to them at the end. So I will turn it over now to my colleague Ben to lead tonight's discussion for us.
Thank you so much, Kaya. I'm glad. Thank you all for being here tonight. Hope everybody is doing well. Just going to share my screen, and Kaya, you can see my presentation. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. So thank you all for being here tonight. This session is specifically for family members, parents, and anybody else who supports students, which we'll talk about in a second as well. But this one's specifically for you. So we're really glad you're here tonight. And thank you for taking the time out of your evening to join us. My name is Ben Trapnick. I'm the Executive Director of Family Engagement here at Framingham State. My contact information is right there, families@framingham.edu. And my phone number is there as well. And I am responsible for communicating with all of the family members of our incoming and current family members. And we'll talk about in this session why we keep that going, why we feel like it's important, and how it supports you and how you can support your students, and also talking a little bit about the change of what might be happening once your student heads off to college. So first of all, just our agenda for tonight, and as Kaya said, feel free to ask any questions. We've got a small group tonight, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have. You're welcome to put them in the chat. If you want to raise your hand, we can and then unmute. We can certainly do it that way too. I'm sure other family members would love to hear any questions you have. So, however, we'd like to have this a conversation. I do have a presentation, but I have no problem stopping and answering any questions or just having a conversation about things. Happy to do it and answer any questions that you can. I've been at Framingham State for several years, and I know a lot of offices and familiar with a lot of them, so I can certainly answer, in most cases, a lot of questions you may have. So, we're going to talk about our definition of family, how your interactions with students are going to be evolving once they start in college, how we engage with our family members, and then what orientation for family members looks like, and then some important dates, and then some time for questions that may be left over as well. So just out of curiosity, if you know how to use the raise your hand feature, because I can't see everybody with my presentation going, just out of curiosity, how many people have already had a student head off to college? And if you have your video open and you want to just raise your hand, that'd be great. Or if you just want to use the raise hand feature, I'm just curious how many of your family members here I've already had a student head off to college. So it looks like everybody is a first timer. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Congratulations. And I'm sure the stress level is a little high in the house these days. Would you agree with that? A little high on the stress level? I'm sure it is. I remember my kids, I have twins, and yeah, for sure. I have twins and they are both in college right now. And I remember what that was like 3 years ago. Well, 4 years ago now. And that was stressful. Never mind COVID going on, but the stress level of not only getting the applications in, but the waiting process and then deciding to. So I certainly can sympathize with what many of you are going through and just dealing with stressed out students about where they're going and keeping it all going. So I've been there. So let's see here. Okay, so first of all, our definition of family. You'll hear me use the term family a lot tonight. I don't use the term parents. I try not to because a lot of our students have other people who are supporting them and may not have their family, their immediate families helping them, or just other people are involved in the process. So we use the term family to describe anybody who supports students. So if you're a grandparent, if you're an aunt, if you're an uncle, if you're a coach, a religious figure, community member, whatever, we don't care. We're glad that you're supporting your students. And for that, we're just going to call you family to make it much easier. And frankly, it sounds a lot better than parents and other supporters, right? So we try and do that. So just keep that in mind tonight that we consider anybody who supports our students family members, okay? And just a little discussion here. I'm sure, as you're aware, you probably have talked to other people who have had students go off to college, family members, maybe, yeah, maybe nieces and nephews or whoever in your family. I'm sure there's somebody in your family who's gone off to college. And I'm sure you've had some conversations with some people about other who are parents or other supporters and what that relationship it looks like once they head off to college. And just a couple things, really briefly here, but you're going to have one thing to keep in mind. And I know it's kind of hard to start off with this, but you're going to have less access to your students' information and grades and just what's going on in their lives than you did when they were in high school, than you do now as they're in high school, if they're still in high school. I don't know if we have any transfer students here, or maybe they're taking a gap year, whatever the case may be. But one thing you're going to learn is that if they're staying on campus, obviously you're not going to see them every single day. You may talk to them, you may text, but you're not going to have the access. And largely, the grade access and the academic information is largely because of a federal regulation called FERPA, Federal Education Rights and Privacy Act, that says unless students give access to people, they're the only ones who have access to their records. All right, so that's one thing to start keeping in mind is you're going to have less access. You won't see them as much. You won't be able to talk to them about how things are going nearly as much, or the conversations will be much shorter, or they'll be through text. And of course, as a family member, you're going to get like one or two words. How's your day going? Good, kind of thing. So, you're gonna. That's one adjustment that's big, and that was a big thing for me and my wife as well. Even though I work in higher ed, you're really going to become dependent on your student to let you know what's happening. All right, and only you know your student and how well they communicate, but also know what adjustments you might have to make as well and how to do that. And that's regardless of whether you're contributing to the bill or not. You certainly, there is a process that we'll talk about over the summertime for students who deposit, that if the student wants to, they can give authorized access to people that will allow them to see the bill and financial aid, become an authorized user. But other than that, you're really not going to have the same kind of access. Maybe the high schools gave you a login password so you could see your students' grades on Google Classroom or whatever platform they were using. That won't be the case this coming year. And I know I'm talking about a lot of things that you won't have. So this next session is not going to be about that, but it's just kind of an adjustment because some of the things you're going to be experiencing. But the beauty of it is that your conversations are now going to evolve in how to support and not necessarily solve issues. This is a tough one. I have to say, my wife and I, even though I've been working in higher ed for a number of years, once my kids got to college, it's a transition to kind of figure out, are they calling to vent, or are they calling to help me solve the problems? Or is this a problem they can solve on their own? Or are we going to find ways to send them to get the information and then come back and process it with us? So the conversations as they go, that's not going to just happen day one. And I don't know if any of you have gone to college, but I know when I went, it was very clear. The colleges did not communicate with family members whatsoever. Like they did everything through the students. While that's true in some cases, we are trying to find ways to help you understand what is happening so you can ask the appropriate questions, or when they come to you, you can be informed about resources or knowledge about dates and deadlines and just what's happening developmentally and what's happening on campus so you can continue to support them just in different ways. And I think that's the point that I'm trying to make with this slide here is that all that's going to change, but we're going to kind of help you get through that and work through that and how you can evolve your relationship with your student. And it's just going to be a new relationship, a new phase. We all have different relationships with our family members than we did when we were 18 years old. And that starts, for those who are coming to college, that starts right about now. So like I said, you have to figure out ways to ask your student to see how they're doing. And probably see isn't the right word, but just trying to find out how they're doing academically, how they're doing socially, and really figuring out when to support and when to let to figure out. And sometimes you're going to be thrilled at how they're figuring things out, and sometimes you're going to be surprised, like, "Wow, you didn't need me at all. Awesome!" Or it's a slap in the face, like, "Wow, my kid doesn't need me right now." So it's tough, but for a lot of people, and there are some people, and I'm sure some of you are getting there right now with the stress level, like, I cannot wait to get them out of the house any quicker. And that may come during the summertime as well. It did for me a little bit. My kids were incredibly stressed, and I'm like, it's time for you to go. So yeah, it's just going to be, you're just going to have to figure out how to do it in different ways. Okay. And also, one thing to keep in mind too is you know your students better than anybody else. You know the signs, you know the triggers, you know the things to look for. Now it's just a matter of how to help them navigate in different ways. But here's the thing. Here's the important piece. The vast majority of students are going to continue to seek your support. One thing that we have that the students have these days that I did not have, or maybe some of you either, is phones, right? So just think about how often you communicate with your students now and they live with you. How often do they talk to you via phone, text message? You send them reminders, all kinds of things. So they're going to continue to seek the support of their family members. That's a really important part of their lives, right? It doesn't just end because they've graduated from high school and suddenly now they're in college and they don't need you anymore, or you're not in a position to be able to help them. Not the case at all. But the relationship, as I said, kind of will change. Okay. But it's important to know from everything that we see, students are going to continue to keep on reaching out to you for help or just to talk to you about what's going on. Okay. They'll continue to do that. So, how do we provide support to you? And that's where my office comes into play, family engagement, the Office of Family Engagement. We serve families by communicating information about deadlines, about policies, about events, about resources, about things that your students are experiencing. Okay. Offering events to connect students and members to the university. We do all kinds of events, whether it's virtual, whether it's in person, lots of different times that are appropriate for family members to need some support, to connect to the university, to want to meet people. We provide guidance to the college application and decision process. Okay, we're available for that and serving as a central location for questions, concerns, and needs. You are welcome. A lot of people just don't know who to reach out to, don't have phone numbers, whatever. Once your student deposits, you'll start getting information from us, family engagement, about what to expect and what some of the next steps are, including admissions up until the summertime. Okay, so we've got your back. We're willing to help you. We really want to engage with you and support you, um, and support you in any way they can. So before I move on, I want to offer the opportunity. Is there any questions anybody has so far? If you'd like to unmute or raise your hand or put it in the chat, is there any questions you have? Hopefully I'm not throwing too much at you at once or scaring the bejesus out of you about what to experience with your students. But does anybody have any questions at this point? All right. Okay. All right. And Kai, you're not seeing anything in the chat either, correct? All right. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Just wanted to ask. I didn't want to wait to the end here. Um, so regular communications, what does that mean? Well, my office sends out a newsletter. It's called a family update every other week during the school year. All right, and it has things that are happening. Like for example, we're going to have an update going out tomorrow. It's going to have a couple of reminders about some family engagement things that are happening, like a survey that's out and live that we need people to fill out, or a family network meeting that's happening next week, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. It'll have upcoming dates that you should be aware of. For example, the housing application for returning students opens this week. Family members need to know about that so the students can register or know about the process, or just remind them, hey, did you know the application for housing is opening up this week? Do you know about that process type of thing? Not getting, and let's be clear too, we aren't communicating this with you so you feel like you have to do it for them, right? There are a lot of students in our campus who we have trouble getting to complete the tasks that need to be completed. We're not asking you to do those things for them. We're not asking you to show up to an advising appointment and create your student schedule just because they haven't done it yet. All right. We're not asking you to fill out incoming onboarding forms for students during the summertime. That's not what we're doing. We just need you to know that this thing needs to be done, and we're hoping that you'll get your student to get it done, type of thing. Okay. So, in events to be aware of, again, in these regular communications like advising registration, when that period opens up, maybe academic warnings. It's a great time to talk to your students about their grades when academic warnings come out in the middle of the semester. Housing selection process of paying the bill, right? That's an important piece. Deadlines for financial aid, so you can make sure that your student is getting financial aid and you're aware of it as well. Campus happenings, all kinds of events that are happening on campus, messages from the president when they come out, and upcoming events for family members. So we try and keep you informed so you are aware of what's happening. You can ask them when they come to you, and you can support them about things as well. And another big piece of this is resources. We need for you to be aware of what's available for your student for assistance, whether that's academic support, whether that's the financial aid office, whether it's my office, you just don't know where to turn, and you can always reach out to us. Once your student starts and you're no longer part of the admissions process, we want you to be aware of all those things. Like your student comes in and says, hey, mom, I've got a hold in my account, which means you can't do anything. You can't register for your classes. You can't withdraw. There's a whole bunch of things you can't do when a hold is put on you. I don't know what to do, they say to you. I'm like, well, I got an email about this telling you if you have a hold to go to the registrar's office in the Student Services Center to ask what's going on. Do you know where that is? No. Well, that's on the 5th floor of McCarthy, according to this email. So head up there, go talk to them, and come back and we'll talk about what's going on. That's the kind of support we want you to have. Okay. And then events for family members. You automatically, once your student deposits, you automatically become part of the family network. Okay. That means virtual meetings. We'll have in-person events. For example, on move-in day for students, for everybody, but we have it on move-in day, but everybody's open to come, whether commuters or not, or residents. We have a big refresh tent outside one of the residence halls with music going on and games. It's a great way to connect with other family members. It's some food, a way to de-stress. We'll have a family and friends event at graduation. We'll do all kinds of things. We do receptions during the school year. We just had a great reception for basketball players, family members of men's and women's basketball. We've done it for volleyball. So we're doing all kinds of things to kind of help you connect. On Tuesday night, we've got a commencement information session for family members whose students are graduating so they can be aware of what's happening and what the process is and what to expect at graduation. All kinds of things happening just to keep you informed. We have a career development series. We know that having a career for your student and helping them along the way is a very important thing. It's one of the reasons why you're probably sending them to college. So we work with career development office, and they present 4 times throughout the year about important things that family members should be aware of, whether it's about how to set up a resume or what resources to use. We just had a family panel about it last week and how they support their students through the process. So there's lots of different things we do. Sessions on financial aid, like I said about the family farewell and refresh tent. family and friend celebration, and then affinity group receptions as well. Okay, so we do a lot to connect you to other family members, to the university, so you feel like you're part of it as well, as much as you would like to be. One thing I think you're going to find, if you haven't found it yet, is our family experience portal. And if you want to take a picture of that, scan that, or you can, I'm going to put this right in the chat. Put this address right in the chat for you. If I can get there. There we go. And I'll put this right in the chat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to escape out of this for a second. And I want to show you the portal we have here. So once you log into this, and all family members will have access to this once, you'll be invited to join this. And it's a great resource for you. This is how I communicate with you. It's got a calendar of events over here. Right here in the news feed, you'll see all kinds of posts and events. You'll see this one is in Portuguese. We translate everything, most of our stuff, into Spanish and Portuguese as well. So it's available to people who speak other languages. It's the senior week right now going on, so you can see some of the things that are happening through our career development office. It's a great resource for family members, just to know what's going on. Commencement information for families. There's the Zoom about it as well. Reminders about FAFSA. But another great thing about this is you'll see that we also have great articles in here to share for you to read. They're short articles, nothing incredibly long. It's not a New York Times Sunday magazine kind of type of article. They're, as you can see, 2-minute reads, 5-minute reads, whatever the case may be. It's going to help you get an understanding or some thoughts on how you might be able to support your students through budgeting, through common mistakes students make on cover letters, career development. So all kinds of things. You'll find this to be a really useful site. And you'll also get a couple emails from me as well. The site automatically sends out a newsletter every couple of weeks as well with some of the information posted. And you can join part of communities as well and see different information as well based on those communities over here on as well. So it's a really great tool for family members. I really encourage people to use it as much as possible. But we try and this is how I also communicate with you all as well. So I'm just going to go back to this. And Kiya, if you could just give me a thumbs up that you can see the presentation again now. Great. Okay. Okay. So does anybody have any questions up to this point? Wrapping up. Any questions about the portal or anything like that? All right. Just a couple things to keep in mind in the summertime. If your son or daughter or student is thinking about coming, just a couple dates. Our orientation experience runs a little differently than a lot of other places. During the summer, it's going to consist of a couple different things. So we have sessions that are held for students and family members called Taking Care of Business. And it's about 2.5-hour session where students and family members can come in and literally get help taking care of all the tasks that need to get done, completing the health forms, completing athletic paperwork, if that's the case, completing a housing application or finding a room, signing up for an advising appointment. A lot of our students really struggle with that because they're getting help during the school year from advisors and counselors at school, and suddenly that doesn't happen. So it can be a very overwhelming process. And if a family member has never been to school or college before, it can be overwhelming for them as well. So we're trying to provide assistance in as much as we can. So when that happens, for a small portion of that, maybe about 45 to 50 minutes of it, we'll separate the students from the family members. And the family members will come with me, and we'll go over much more in depth about some of the things and have some really great conversation about things that you're going to experience as a family member. And again, discussing some of these resources as well. So that will be one piece of it. We'll also send out weekly communications during the summertime about updates, about things you need to be aware of, tests that your students should be completing, deadlines, and we'll really emphasize a lot on resources so you have some familiarity with them as well. And then we'll also have weekly posts in the Family Experience portal, which is the webpage I was just on. So we're really trying to get information to you in a lot of different ways, but it kind of drips out throughout the entire summertime. And then, of course, we're always available for support as well. Just a couple of important dates to keep in mind. We have Ram Rise's Accepted Students Days on March 28th and April 4th. They are major specific, but people are welcome to come to either one, but just keep in mind that majors will only be available on certain days. The deposit deadline is May 1st. And then also there's a couple things during the summertime as well as taking care of business sessions. We talked about those. There'll be, you'll be able to sign up for any one that you like during the 6 days in June and July. Course selection will open up late May, early June. That date hasn't been quite set yet, but that will open up in late May, early June. And students will be meeting with an advisor individually, most likely over Zoom, to create their schedule. We'll have much more information about that as we get closer to that. New student move-in is going to be on the 30th, and we'll have a family farewell that day as well, and refresh tent. And then orientation for students, not family members, students, starts on the 31st of August and runs to the 2nd, with first day of classes on the 3rd. And then, of course, homecoming and family weekend will be in the middle of October. All right.
Ben, just to cut in really quick,
Please.
March 29th and April 5th are the official dates for Accepted Student Day this year.
All right. Can you put that in the chat just so correct
I
me?
will, yeah.
My
Yeah.
apologies.
No, it's okay. And that's on our Accepted Students page as well.
Yes. My apologies to everybody. Whatever, I brain locked it. It happened. So there's a question there, Kiya. Can you direct people how they can sign up for the March 29th Accepted Students Day?
Yes, absolutely.
And you'll put that in the, you'll put the link in the chat there. Okay. Yeah. So great. She'll put the link in the chat there. My apologies, Kiya. Yeah, so that's really, it's we try really hard to make sure that our family members are feeling supported, have information so they can support their students, so they know what's going on. It sometimes in helping you through the transition, not just in the first year, but we work with you all the way through. You go through different stages and different things, and you'll need less support as your student goes on because they'll be able to do more on their own. But we are really here to support our family members in any way that we can, and really connect them to the university as well. And so you can go back and support them and enjoy the experience with them as well and help them through whatever they need help with. So at this point, I'd like to open up to questions. Anything you have about being a family member in college, services, support, or just anything in general you have. We can try and answer whatever questions you might have as a family member. There you go. Thank you, Kai. The link to sign up for the Accepted Students page is in the chat. Anybody have any other questions or anything? What if your student applied to live on campus but decides to commute? How does that work? Kai, can you answer that? How they can change their status?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely keep the questions coming in the chat. Ben and I are happy to answer anything that you want to know about. So, the question about commuting versus living on campus, if the student fills out the Common App and they said that they want to live on campus, but now they've changed their mind, all we require is an email to their admissions counselor or to the general admissions email address, letting us know that they want to change their on-campus status. And we can go ahead and make that change on the back end for them. So super simple. Once the student is on campus, once they start enrolling in classes, maybe they live on campus for a semester and then they change their mind, then that's a different process. But for now, you can just talk to admissions about it. I also saw another question right above that about when you'll get information on the FAFSA. Our financial aid office just sent out the first batch of letters today, actually, and they are continuing to work hard on getting the rest of those out as soon as possible. So if you have specific questions about your FAFSA status, we can tell whether or not the FAFSA has been received. We also send you an email when the FAFSA has been received so that you're aware. And then it takes a little bit longer to compile the financial aid award and get that letter out to you. But we email every step of the way. Like I said, though, feel free to reach out to us if you had specific questions about your FAFSA.
And while you're talking, can you also talk about what Accepted Students and what Ram Rising Days looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So Really, it's a huge event on campus where we have a big welcome. Typically, we have breakfast and lunch that are served. We have a big setup in our gymnasium with a bunch of tables where different academic departments are represented. And that's a really fantastic opportunity for students to go and meet with faculty who are in the programs that they're interested in possibly enrolling in. Ben had mentioned that they're actually split up for the different days represent different academic programs. If you can't make the day that your student is interested in, we definitely recommend coming to the other day because you still get a lot of really fantastic information. There are various sessions that go on throughout the day, and it's just really meant to be both an informational day for your student and you, and also just an opportunity to get to know Framingham State as a community, a little bit better. So thank you for that question. And the question that just came in about how my daughter is unable to attend the acceptance day specific to her major. Should I just register her for the other date? Yes, we definitely recommend that. Because at the very least, there will still be faculty there who are maybe in a program that is adjacent to the one that your daughter's interested in. But regardless, it's still a really fantastic opportunity to come out and learn more about Framingham State.
New question. What's the FAFSA deadline?
The FAFSA deadline, I believe it's usually in March for the priority deadline. Um, Let me actually look that up because that's a FAFSA. Um,
I know there's a priority deadline for returning students of March 1st,
yes.
but I'm not, which is why I prefer if there's one for incoming students.
Yeah, it looks like March 1st is, and that's the date that I had in my head anyway. March 1st is the priority deadline. However, you can still submit a FAFSA afterward. Um, it just might impact slightly the aid that you're eligible for. But that's something that our financial aid office takes a look at. But March 1st is definitely when we recommend you get it in by, because then that also allows us enough time on the back end to get the financial aid letter ready for you before the enrollment deposit deadline of May 1st. We want to make sure that you have plenty of time to actually review your financial aid package and talk to us about any of that before you have to make your enrollment decision.
Our daughter's an international student and will not be able to attend Accepted Students Day. Can she Zoom to discuss her major?
Great question. Yes, we definitely recommend that for students who can't make it here in person. On our admissions webpage, and I can actually grab the link for that right now, we have meeting links to all of the different admissions counselors. So I'll send that right now. You can sign up for a meeting with an admissions counselor. What I recommend is if your daughter is interested in speaking with another department, meeting with a faculty member, anything of that nature, definitely get in touch with us ahead of time so that we can make arrangements for those additional people to be on that meeting. But starting with a general admissions counselor appointment can also be a great step because then we can figure out what your questions are and go from there in assisting you.
I think I know the answer to this one, but does FAFSA send the info directly to Framingham or do they go through us and we connect with the school? As long as you put the Framingham State code in when you fill out the form, the online form, it will get sent directly to, so they don't mail it to you and then you have to send it off to Framingham. Correct, Kiya?
Yes, that is correct. It's all done digitally, so all you have to do is put the Framingham FAFSA code in, click submit, and we will receive it.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Any other questions? They're great. Keep them coming. We'd love to answer whatever you got. Okay. All right, Kiya. Well, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
sounds good. All right, let's Perfect. All right. Thank you everyone so much for joining us tonight. Thank you, Ben, for leading this session and giving us all this great information on family engagement at Framingham. If anyone has any questions after the fact, I'm still monitoring the chat. Okay, just some thank yous. If anyone has some questions after tonight, definitely reach out to us via email. Your student has an assigned counselor that they can reach out to. You can reach out to our general email address with any questions that you have. And I definitely encourage you to stay in touch. And please, come for Accepted Students Day if you're able to. We would love to see you on campus. But if no one has anything else, I will let you all go for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's nice to meet you all. Appreciate it. Have a great night.